All right, test my sound here. I'm waiting for Crystal. Okay, hello. Oh, I started the thing. Good. That's what I wanted. Hello. Hot in Car South Carolina, naturally. hmm Cloudy and raining. I think it's coming for me, Eric. It'll be in my neighborhood soon.
Probably, yeah.
That's how it goes. Foggy and spooky. I love it. Okay, I am delaying in hopes that Crystal just needs another minute to join the call. In the meantime, I'm gonna ready things so that I can present the whole thing if I need to. Just give me a second. Oh. Oh. Okay, I think I've got what am I gonna share here? Let's see. Mm, it's over here. Okay. Can I even share or do I need permission? No, I can. Okay. Mm, Actually, I wonder if one of my iMac committee members wouldn't mind sharing the slides so that I don't have to do it. Very hot in Nigeria. That sounds about right. Yep, welcome. hmm Oh, thank you for whoever's sharing. I was just trying to find something else. Oh, it's Eric. Thanks. Mm. All right, let me find link to the agenda, which is, of course, in the slides. I can grab it. Ugh. I just realized that I didn't test this link. Hold on, let me try this. Mm. Yes, that seems to work. Okay. Here's the agenda for today's meeting. Sorry, we're starting a little bit late. I'm hoping that my co-presenter Crystal will be able to join in a few. Uh, but we'll get started anyway. So, hello. My name is Jennifer Liss, and I am hopefully going to be presenting with Crystal Uragi here in a moment. And we are the co-chairs of the PCC Identity Management Advisory Committee. And we are thrilled to welcome you all. To the early adopters phase of EMCO. EMCO is short for Entity Management Cooperative, and it's a brand new initiative for the PCC, or Program for Cooperative Cataloging. Um, and if you wind up joining EMCO, you become a PCC member, whether you're an individual or a member of an institution. And that is something that's new for the PCC, and we're super excited about it. So, anyway, welcome. Um, I suspect that I have no idea if it's on or not. Yes, it looks like closed captioning is on, and you can access that through the Zoom links below, or the Zoom, menu bar below. So we're going to ask that everybody remain muted, just because this is a bigger meeting. And if you have a question, you can throw it in the chat. There are people who hopefully will help me watch the chat. And you are also welcome to raise your hand and ask a question that way. Um, all right. So. This meeting is being recorded, and the recorded recordings will be posted publicly. And we're doing that because, one, it was really hard to schedule meetings that accommodate the whole globe. That's why we did two and they're repeated. But that being said, we knew that some people wouldn't be able to make it, so we thought we'd record them and put them up on our YouTube channel, and links to all of that will come out soon. Um, and so we hope through this we make it more inclusive, and able to follow along with what's happening. So if you have any accessibility needs that are not being met, please let us know. We are eager to accommodate those requests. Um, can you go to the next slide, please? So if you have not joined the EMCO listserv, several messages have gone out in the last few days. Um, So it's likely, if you haven't gotten anything, you might not be on it, or maybe it's gone to your junk email folder. At any rate, here is the I posted so small. Here's the link to the request form for getting on the EMCO wide listserv. It's important to be on that to get news and updates from us. Um, and then I just want to remind everybody that there is a PCC code of conduct, and that is linked in the slides. I think it's also in the agenda. It does, um, it is in effect for all meetings, which would include this one. So other than that, I think I'm going to ask everybody also to, I'm going to post the agenda one more time in case folks came in later. In the agenda, you will see a place at the very bottom to sign in. We would love it if you would sign in, just so that we know who was here. Um, and that would be great. All right, so next slide, please. The EMCO early adopters phase actually launched last year around this time with prospective participants from 18 countries, which was really exciting. Um, those that expressed interest during our second call, which was just a month ago, brought the number of countries to 21, and we added our sixth continent with Chile and Brazil expressing interest. That's super exciting. Anyway, we were really bowled over by the amount of interest globally in doing entity management in a sort of linked data compliant way. Next slide, please. We thought we'd share just a little bit about who was putting up their hand to volunteer or get involved. So 3/4 of the second cohort, kind of unsurprisingly, is from academic libraries. That is the, we'll say, historic representation within the program for cooperative cataloging. It's probably actually higher than 75% in the other PCC programs. But we were super excited to see more variety of types of institutions uh, express interests. And so um, we have special libraries, we've got public libraries, which is great. We had interest even from K through 12, which was, primary school. Um, and then we have some vendors, publishers, service providers, governmental libraries. Anyway, I thought that this was useful to just know who right now is involved or hopes to be involved. Okay, next slide, please. So here's a little information about the interest expressed in the early adopter phase by the registry that people sort of registered interest in. Um, so it's unsurprising that Wikidata uh, did garner the largest amount of interest. There's already a really robust community of um, libraries, archives, museums, and galleries people already participating in Wikidata. And so we felt that that didn't surprise us at all. We were excited to see some more people express interest in both WorldCat entities as well as ISNI. And we had some other folks express interest in other kinds of registries that we've not worked with as directly yet. But those include SNAC, which is short for Social Networks and Archival Contexts, mostly archival, um, an archival authority file, if you will, as well as the Virtual International Authority File, or VIAF, or VIAF, depending on how you like to pronounce it. And then some interest in ORCID and more. Next slide, please. I just want to remind folks that we have a lot of information about the EMCO early adopter phase on our wiki, um, which I'm going to attempt to put in the chat. This is specifically the page for onboarding. But there's a lot of other information too. If you kind of poke around, there's an FAQ. There's some information about like why the program for cooperative cataloging is doing this at all. So anyway, there's some good information there if you haven't looked at it already. But now I think we're going to talk a little bit about the structure that's been developed to sort of support EMCO. Um, Next slide, please. I'm gonna just hold on 1 second. Just checking. Okay. Um, okay, so this is the current structure of the EMCO program. And this was built over the course of the last year by the participants of the program. So at the very top, you'll see something called POCO, that is short for PCC Policy Committee, and that is the group that runs the PCC, essentially. So that group charged the group below it, IMAC is short for Identity Management Advisory Committee, so that's the committee that Crystal and I co-chair. It charged IMAC to really launch this EMCO program. And so that's why you're here today. So the thing below that, EMCO COCO, is the shorthand for the EMCO Coordination Committee. And this is the way that we devised to make sure that communication was happening across all of the almost disparate parts of EMCO. Because as you see below that, there are three different communities. That COP stands for Community of Practice. Um, there is a Wikidata community of practice, an ISNI community of practice, and then WorldCat entities via OCLC Meridian community of practice. And each of those communities, they found leaders among them. I think Wikidata was so large that not only did they need five, but they had to hold elections to get them. So anyway, each community picked their leaders. And those coordinators of those communities became members of the coordination committee. Members of IMAC also are members of the coordination committee, and so we think, we hope, created this superstructure where information is happening inside each community of practice, and then across the communities of practice, and then up into sort of the upper echelons of the PCC. Hi, Crystal.
Oh, sorry I'm late. I'm sick
No
and I slept
worries.
through my alarm.
Oh my goodness. No worries.
Apologies.
So I'm just going through what the coordination committee is. Could you hit the next slide, Eric? Perfect. Okay. So more about the coordination committee. So in terms of just sort of the day-to-day communication I've already talked about, it also does the sort of long-term strategy thinking for EMCO, because we know that while we're trying to get all the internal stuff happening, people outside are wondering what's going on, including the PCC. So it's that coordination committee that's trying to do both the outward management of the cooperative, but also the inward. All right, next slide, please. And this is just a full list of who the coordination committee members are. They have done tremendous work in the last year. I'm so grateful to all of them. Um, okay, next slide. All right. So now we're going to go over a little bit more about each of the communities of practice. Excuse me. Um, oh, heavens. All right. So, because the real work happens at the level of each of these communities of practice, it's worth saying more about them. I want to note that first that there's only three communities of practice right now. That could change. It could evolve over time. It feels about right in terms of managing for the early adopter phase. There's a lot of resources that go into trying to support this much work happening. Um, but as the program builds, I could see there being more. And maybe the communities are organized around another registry. Maybe it's organized around something a little different. Like maybe in the earliest phase of this, we thought maybe there would be a group that just focuses on using entities in library work, archive work, museum work, etc. So anyway, we're thinking about it. But in the meantime, we've got three. ISNI is one of them. It's a pretty natural offshoot from some work that was initiated in the PCC ISNI pilot that was several years ago. And so there was already this very small community that was like in this space and doing it. So we're happy to see that continue. Um, I think updates from this community of practice. We are recruiting a coordinator. Uh, so if you are interested, my email is on the screen. Please contact me. I'm going to help it sort of just keep moving in the interim, scheduling meetings and things, but I don't have the capacity to do it. So we'll be looking for some help. Ideally, two people. Co-chairs work really well. So but other than that, most recently, the British Library's ISNI quality team. British Library is, of course, an ISNI member, founding member, I believe. And so they have a quality team, and they provided this really good interview, overview of ISNI. And they will be offering, they or someone else will be offering more ISNI training as needed in the future. But yeah, it feels like that community of practice is really, really ready to sort of start running. And so we're excited about that. Next step, please.
Hello. I'm going to talk about the Wikidata community of practice. This is currently our largest registry community, and as such, we've got five wonderful registry coordinators for the Wikidata COP. Um, the work that's being conducted by the Wikidata community of practice is seen as an extension to the PCC Wikidata pilot. And we also have a lot of overlap in membership and activities with the LD4 Wikidata Affinity Group. And those existing groups are probably part of the reason for how populated this community of practice is. The objectives that we've agreed on are to define shared core properties for agent classes in Wikidata, and that includes an application profile for persons and one for corporate bodies. Um, we've also determined several methods for collecting and reporting Wikidata statistics to the PCC. The EMCO Coordination Committee has figured out a good sort of set of statistics to track. And in the Wikidata community of practice, we've got a few different methods that participants can use and test out during the early adopter phase. So right now we're testing those options. We're also pulling together documentation on Wikidata um, editing that's relevant to GLAM practitioners, galleries, libraries, archives, and museums. And we're figuring out how to coordinate wiki projects that participants are working on. Um, that has been interesting, sort of setting parameters and deciding what makes a wiki project an EMCO wiki project. So that's what that community of practice has been up to. Um, Next slide, please. And then I think Anne Washington, did I see her? Are you here, Anne?
Yep, I'm here.
Nice. Do you want to do this slide?
Sure, yes.
Hi.
So this we also have the WorldCat entities / Meridian community of practice, and this is focused on WorldCat entities data and then the creation of that data through the Meridian tool. Misty Kane and Jill Strakowski are the co-coordinators, and they're also on the call. They do a fabulous job of leading this. And then I'm on IMAC, and then I work at OCLC, so I put on that hat sometimes as well. We have a monthly meeting, and the initial work that we did over the first year, we did a lot of work to kind of set up the structure of the group and do some initial work on what types of things we would like to do in the group, and so that was great. And that included things around statistics requirements and reporting that you see on here. And now the work that we're up to is for the different properties in the WorldCat entities data. This group is talking about maybe some, not maybe, they're talking about some best practices and recommendations around fields used for disambiguation and things like that. So we're really looking forward to having folks participate. And I may have to leave. I think I will have to leave a little bit early. So I'll post in the chat about Meridian, and then you can always feel free to contact me. But I trust in Misty and Jill to answer any questions you might have about the community of practice.
Amazing. Thanks, Anne. So next slide, please. We just threw a ton of information at you, and if you've been looking at the wiki, there was even more information there. So we thought we would just take a step back and open up this time to talk about really anything you want to. We have some prompts here, if that's helpful. We don't have to, even talk about these questions, but yeah, I think some of the things we wonder about are, why did you join? What are you interested in working on? Um, what challenges might you be facing? So yeah, I think we'll open it up. We'll give people a second. If you want to use the chat, that's fine. If you want to unmute, that's great too. Just raise your hand so we can kind of do this orderly fashion. But we'll give folks a moment to think. Mm. Thank you, Anne, for posting more information about OCLC Meridian. And yes, I want to sort of emphasize that you do not need to have a subscription to OCLC Meridian in order to participate in the community of practice. That is not required.
This is also a good time to ask other questions um, that might be lingering about EMCO or to discuss things that are not necessarily on the prompts. If you have any thoughts about EMCO or
We also had on our Monday meeting some folks that shared some of the work they're doing. So I don't know if that that was a nice way to start some of the conversation too. So if anyone is thinking about what or doing some entity management in your current work, we'd love to hear about it.
Hey y'all, can you hear me?
Yes, hello.
Okay, great. I didn't see the raise hand prompt, so I apologize.
That's good.
I have some coworkers who were in the Monday session, so you all may have discussed this a little bit, but I can share what we're currently doing at Clemson University and some of the challenges we've faced and the reasons why we're looking at EMCO as a great option. We My team and I currently describe digitized collections from our archives. So we have a lot of archival material that is going online that have a lot of local or state level individuals who are not represented in Library of Congress authorities. And so we actually manage our own entity records in-house in a collective access database. And so we're looking for a way to make that usable more publicly because we've had conversations across the state of South Carolina with other colleagues at other institutions who are doing similar work, and it feels like we're all kind of doing the same thing, and we likely have entities that overlap with our collections. And we would love to see a way to build that corpus of entities out in a public way so that individuals can utilize that, and especially having that linked data component and better discovery and functionality there.
Well, that, excuse me, that work sounds very at home with EMCO for sure. Many of the pilot participants, there was an ISNI pilot, there's also a Wikidata pilot before EMCO started. We're working on exactly what you described. It had very nearly the same problems. So that's super exciting. Thank you. We have some folks chiming in the chat. Uh,
it's great to see so many folks thinking about using EMCO for archives.
ugh,
I think a lot of people in the PCC Wikidata pilot um, used Wikidata for entity management and archives, and also to point from Wikidata to their collections. So this oral history at property that Camilla is talking about, that's really something a lot of folks did in the pilot, and it's good to see.
there's also a dimension of, I think Jessica just said it, and then it's been sort of alluded to in the chat where you're surfacing very local communities, things that would be normally hidden. Boy, that's really exciting to me. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, thank you for sharing. The um, being able to share link data developments with those who we hope will be our colleagues one day, students. Um, yeah, of course, that's wonderful. Okay. Um, so while I wait, just make sure that we haven't cut anyone off too early. You're still welcome to put in chat or raise your hand or just speak up. I'll just say that it seems like this has been a very, everything I've heard anyway has guided me to think that it's been a really open and welcoming sets of communities. We try to cultivate that on purpose, but actually seeing it happen is something else. I think there's a shared understanding that we're all just sort of learning together. I think one of the benefits maybe of coming in during an early adopter phase when there's no infrastructure in place yet. There's barely any training, at least not in a very PCC, here's the web page, look at the videos, kind of way. It's not that. There's also not a lot of policy documents. There's not a lot of guidance yet. We're just starting to work on it. But the perk of getting in before all that happens is that everyone's learning and everyone's trying to figure out what's happening, what's going on, and being able to do that in a community where you can ask questions, you can share experiences. I mean, that's super valuable. I think that's the thing I keep hearing over and over, has been super valuable about EMCO thus far. So, um, if that's what you're here to do, you're in the right spot. I mentioned earlier that I'm gonna sort of step in and help the ISNI community of practice. I know nothing. Well, I know ISNI exists. That's what I know. I've maybe included an identifier in a name authority record in the Library of Congress, but like I don't have any expertise. We're just eager to learn. That's what I am. Okay.
I think also the registry coordinator position, sometimes folks look at it and think, oh, I have to be an absolute expert and I have to do all this work myself. And that's not true. Um, all you need to do as a registry coordinator is make sure the work gets done. So that can look like a lot of delegation. It can look like scheduling meetings, making sure that everybody's signed up on the communication lists the way that they need to be. So it's um it's a lot less demanding than, say, chairing a traditional committee might be. Yeah, I see Anna's worked with the archives app property. That's one of my favorite properties.
Okay. Well, we could move on. I'm gonna just keep an eye on the chat, see if anything else comes in, if anyone raises their hand. Um, Maybe last call for questions about EMCO. We have our next slide will tell you next steps, but oh, we have a question about the collections or entities to work with. Yeah, so most people who join may work with a library collection, an archival collection. and through that work, they need to sort of order the the information, right, about the thing that they're working with. So EMCO right now is only focused on persons and corporate bodies. It could eventually do other things like titles, topics, etc., but we're not there yet. We're going to just stay with persons and corporate bodies. So in that case, I think could someone throw the link to the wiki projects? Someone to anticipating me. Wonderful, thank you. I think two people anticipated me. If you click on that link, you will see some of the types of projects that people are working on in EMCO. Excuse me. Um, and it's often, I have an archival collection and there are a bunch of people named or referenced or, created the collection. And now I need to be able to point um, my, I don't know, is it archive space or whatever tool it is you use at an identifier for that person. Um, but
There's also, for the Wikidata community of practice, there are things called wiki projects that any Wikidata editor can join. Um, and these are really handy, especially you mentioned teaching students. When you don't have sort of a ready project locally for students to plug into, you can kind of peruse these projects, see what captures your interest or the interest of your students, and start working on it right away. And as long as it has to do with persons and corporate bodies, I think your work on that could potentially count as EMCO work. Um, so that's a good place to start, especially for learning. You can also start your own wiki project as long as you as one and one other person with a login wants to do something. So it could be local knowledge, it could be a hobby that you have a lot of knowledge about.
okay. All right. Well, why don't we move to the next slide? We'll get our to-do items out there. So, your to-do list is really just two things. Make sure that you're on the EMCO listserv. Again, emails just went out, like several emails went out to it this week. So if you're not on it, there is a request form. It's in the slides, it's in the agenda. You should be able to find it there. And then the second thing you need to do is make sure that you add yourself to one of the rosters for a community of practice. You can do more than one if you wish. We have a lot of people who will join one and do work in that one and then maybe lurk on another one. Maybe they'll attend a meeting or maybe they'll just sort of keep in the know about what's going on there, but maybe not actively participate as much. That happens a lot. It's okay. And it doesn't commit you to doing anything if you just sort of lurk. But yeah, getting on the roster will make sure that you get added to the Google Drive. There will be a lot of links that you suddenly can't click on, and that's because you don't have access. And so once you get on the roster, Crystal and I and others can start getting you that access to the appropriate places. It'll also mean that community of practice coordinators can like reach out to you. They can add you to the community specific listservs, etc. So all of it kind of starts there. Okay. Next slide, please.
EMCO is still taking feedback on the early adopter phase, and also questions are encouraged. If you come up with questions after this session, you can get in touch with myself or Jennifer. It's a little bit easier if you funnel your questions and feedback through this EMCO feedback form that we have live. My and Jennifer's inboxes tend to get a little bit swamped during phases of expansion for EMCO. So sending in that Google form will guarantee a more prompt response than probably an email would. Um, Next slide, please. And then the PCC Wiki is the place to go for all of your EMCO information needs. You'll find recordings and slides from past EMCO updates and presentations, as well as information about the overall program as it develops. So we'll keep that updated. We've also set up a PCC YouTube channel, and recordings of meetings just like this one are posted to that channel relatively promptly. I'd say within like a week or so of the meeting, it's up there. Um, and I think that's all we had for today. I know we've got more time, so maybe we can give it another minute or so to see if anyone has questions.
Sure, sounds good. No? Okay. Well, again, you can use the form to reach out to us. And one of us will soon be sending out links to the recording today, but as well as the one on Monday, which was the same content, just different crowd. Um, and so, yeah, we'll send reminders about your to-do list, and your coordinators will reach out soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Glad you're here. Wonderful. Thanks. Bye.
Oh.